This right here, she was my first love. She was the one that got me into the fountain pen rabbit hole and maybe understand the hype behind and surrounding this beautiful writing hobby and practice. And I just really enjoyed using the TWSBI branded fountain pens. But now I also have a new love, Pilot fountain pens. I love them maybe equally, but I don't know. This year I definitely found myself tumbling in the Pilot rabbit hole deeper and deeper. And while I was perfectly content with using the TWSBI fountain pens, especially my 580 and my Eco, I received a Pilot Kakuno as a gift exchange the end of last year in December. And then that is where I discovered my love for Pilot fountain pens. I've used the Metropolitan before. I just could not connect with it. While the nib was a nice writing experience, I believe it was the stub nib, I just did not like the grip section. And I just could not believe at this price point how well and smooth and pleasurable this writing experience could be. I mean, this pen is around like $10, $10 or $12, and it's just so cute. It's so adorable. And as you can see, I've added to the family. Now, if you're not familiar with my backstory, I was content with these Pilot Kakunos as well. But then a few of you here in the pen community through my videos, you recommended I take it a step up and look into the Pilot Prera. So I do enjoy using this. It's a cute little pocket pen. It's very lightweight and it's the same nib as the Kakuno, but as you can see, the design looks a little sleeker. It doesn't look as plasticky or maybe as childlike as these Kakunos. However, when I went to submit my original order for this Prera, I received this instead through Amazon. I meant to order this. Amazon had the box labeled Prera, but inside the Prera was this Pilot Vanishing Point, which I will link down that video if you haven't seen it. And goodness, I fell in love with this pen. The thing is though, had that mistake never happened, I would have never purchased this on my own. I would have never given this a second thought, and I'm not sure if I would have appreciated this design mechanism as much as I do. So I like this. I loved it. And then eventually, I submitted the order again for the Prera, kind of hoping maybe they would send me another Vanishing Point, but no, they sent me the correct one, the Prera. And I really started enjoying Pilot fountain pens from there earlier this year. The thing is, I loved this so much, I wanted to carry it around with me all day, every day, especially because, in my Hobonichi weeks, this is my little mini planner, I found that the pen loop here, it holds this Pilot Vanishing Point perfectly. The only thing was, I saw the retail value of this, and this is the most, this was just, for my price point, it was very fragile, and I definitely wanted to be very careful with it. A lot of you then suggested that as an everyday fountain pen, I could consider the Jinhao 10. So then you guys push me further into the fountain pen rabbit hole, and that is where maybe some of you newer fountain pen friends discovered me, because I went through this whole Jinhao lore and I really fell in love again with this retractable fountain pen mechanism, so much so that I wanted to have more to my collection, but without breaking the bank. Because again, a good gold nib, Pilot fountain pen like this design will retail you around $200. Now, disclaimer, this exact one is not the real gold. It's just rhodium. It's just gold plated, but it's the steel nib. So this one is not real gold. But still, this will still retail you around $100. Very great quality and very solid. However, I gave these Jinhao 10s a look. As you can see, I have a great variety of colors, of designs, and I still enjoy using this. Because these are very budget friendly, I'm not afraid to just chuck these in my bag, to take these on a vacation, to carry them within my journal, or even to lend them out to friends and family if they need to use a little quick jotter. And because these are budget friendly, I'm able to have a great variety of pens, but ink them up with different colors at a time. So this I could ink with maybe, dark yellow, this could be gray, this would be brown, this would be black, because I like to play matchy-matchy. And all of this retails for the same amount of this one. Now, the only thing is, I have received some comments from you guys and messages saying, does my ink dry out quickly? Because in your experience, quite a few of you were saying that when you use this, your ink would dry up in like a day or two. And I personally have not had that experience where it dries up in a day or two, because at the time I was using these every day. So I didn't really give it, the nib, an opportunity to dry up. However, I also think it was the technique that I used. I did not stick with the default filling mechanism. When you get the Jinhao 10s, or even just Pilot in general, because the Pilot, it's the same, they offer, the same mechanism here, where this is what it looks like. You're supposed to draw this up, you put the nib in the bottle of ink, and you twist. Okay, I'll take this out so you can see, but you're supposed to twist this, right? And then it's going to draw in the ink. But when you draw it up, it does not really pull in a lot. It may pull up to maybe like this line, and it does not hold a lot of ink. So if you write a lot, yes, it does run out, and it may feel like you're always having to constantly fill this up. But what I have shown in those videos a couple months back, I was just refilling the Pilot cartridges. So let me show you, and we're going to do that today. Here's a little sneak peek at my current fountain pen ink storage. I was using this box right here, but as you can see, my ink collection has grown a little bit, and I have a dedicated space in my bookshelf where I know the lighting seems bright right here, but it's actually this side. It's protecting it from the sunlight, and I don't have direct sunlight coming in where it would affect the ink. So, and as you can see, all of these inks would not fit in my storage, but the way that my mind works is that if something is out of sight, it is out of mind. And I've realized rather quickly that, again, I was spiraling further and further down into the fountain pen rabbit hole, and I really wanted to be mindful of my consumption and my collection and kind of use up what I have. As you can see, I have quite enough ink to last me for some time. So whenever I get tempted to pick up a new color, I look at my collection and think, is there something that I already have that's similar? If you're seeing a pattern, it's something that I recognize as well. I tend to gravitate towards like earthy colors. I like more like not bright blue, but kind of like purple blues. I like browns. I like burnt oranges. I love gray. I really fell in love with gray inks. And like this one is one of my favorites too, the Cacao do Brazil. So you can kind of get a general idea of what type of inks I like by similar colors. And brown, right? This purple one, it's like a deep plum. This is like a dark blue ink. My Bungu box, these are like dark black, purple, and then blue. But I noticed, okay, grays, like I have kind of like the similar colors, so I need to use these up. But let's go ahead and ink up my new fountain pen, my new Jinhao I want to share with you. And this is just how I store my fountain pens when they're not in use. This box right here has now been converted into a sample holder because, again, all of these inks have quickly expanded. And I know someone's going to ask what my favorite inks are, and that would be sesame oil. I love the sesame oil. I love the by Lennon Toolbar. This is Lennon Toolbar Night Sky. My diamine inks are always a classic favorite. If you're new, I recommend any type of diamine color. Brown, ochre, ancient copper for burnt orange, writer's blood for like a deep Cabernet red, and then the grays, Earl Grey or just regular gray. And yes, there is a difference because Earl Grey has more of a purple kind of tint to it. And then Cafe Crema for a beautiful rich brown. Those are my favorites. And and then I said Cacao do Brazil, which is kind of like a purple brown gray. All that to say, and these are the samples. Okay, so I'm going to get my little syringe and then my Pilot cartridges. Today we're going to ink up a new Jinhao. This is the same design concept as the Jinhao 10, but I would say this is comparable to like the Pilot maybe Decimo, because this is the vanishing point, but the retractable design, they make the Decimo version, which is slimmer, which I would say is comparable to this Pilot 20, number 20. This is very, very light. My first impressions, I was immediately like oohed and awed by it because the one that I got, if you notice, it is a transparent body, and it's one of my favorite combinations, gold and black. That's why I think I was so drawn to this TWSBI, because it's rose gold, but it's still like gold and black. I love my Pilot Elite because the gold and the black, I don't know, I find it to look so sleek and so elegant, so classy, and I just love it. I mean, I think it's representative of me and my style. I wear a lot of black clothing and I enjoy, gold accessories. So I think it's just a perfect pairing. Now, and then I really like this, pink with gold. I think I remember saying in one of my videos, it would be a dream if, the Jinhao came out with a black and gold. I believe Pilot, they do have their black and gold design, but here it is, the Jinhao 20. This is actually, again, the clear body or transparent body, which if you notice here on my channel, it kind of tends to be my thing. I do enjoy the great demonstrator body where you could see how much ink is left in the pen. And sometimes, when you have like different colors in it, it's just fun to see it kind of, splashing around in there. And if you like to play matchy-matchy, you can see that the body, will match the color. This is the purple ink in here. So yeah, I've really been fond of the clear body. These are the Pilot Prera. Even though I'm using a cartridge in the Pilot Prera, it's still, a clear body where I could see the color in the cartridge. And as you could see, I'm able to see if I'm running low or not. And this is inked just like in a regular gray. I find the cartridges are a lot easier to clean versus, a piston filler type of fountain pen. This is also a Pilot, the Heritage 92, and guilty. I need to clean this. Okay, don't judge me, please. But I need to clean this, and I don't know why I'm keeping that sticker on here, but I am. I really enjoy this. It's a skinnier and smaller version of a TWSBI, I would say, the TWSBI Diamond. So, and it has a real gold nib. Going back to the Jinhao, we're going to ink this up, okay? I know it's been a while since I've talked to you pen friends. What I'm not going to do, I'm not going to use this at all. Now, Jinhao does sell the 3, I think they sell like their ink packs or their cartridges, but as you saw, I'm using Pilot because that's just what I have. I'll try to link it down below, but from what I've seen, Jinhao does sell their empty cartridges that you can get with the little stopper, which I think is very, very cool. Today's ink, we're using Diamine Gray. Even though it says it is not water resistant or waterproof, in my experience, I found that this was kind of water resistant, more resistant than my other Diamine inks. So I'm not sure if I just got like a lucky unicorn bottle or if it's this particular gray, but I did find that in one of my, I'll swatch it right here, in one of my journalings, I spilled a little bit of water and it did not affect it. So I'm just going to fill it like this. Okay, in my experience, you want to fill this up like as close to the rim as you can. So that way it will prime the feed and go through the nib quicker. So I'm just gonna cap this back on. All right, and then I'm just gonna, squeeze the cartridge a few times so that way I can kind of force it to go down the nib sooner. This is the Jinhao 20. I'm using a fine nib and the ink is Diamine Gray. Ooh, I like how this writes. Now, I can hear a little bit of the feedback here, but it's not bothering me. With these Jinhaos, I don't really use them for like long form journaling, while I can, because surprisingly, this may look like it's uncomfortable to write with, but with my awkward grip, it actually doesn't get in the way. So, well, see, I write like this originally. I'm writing like this, but then I notice in time, my thumb will start to kind of hug over that clip. And then I have like this weird grip. I don't know. Here we are. I write like this. The weight, did I mention it's very, very light? It is, let me get my food scale here. I think it came out to be about, yeah, it's 19 grams. Very comparable again to the Pilot Prera, which is 15 grams. The Pilot is 32 grams, which is comparable to the, I think, was the TWSBI Gold 28 grams? Okay. The TWSBI Eco is 21 grams. So I would say the weight is very comparable to, if you have the mini, it feels pretty light, just like that. Is this equal? This is, yeah, 19 and 19. So these are both 19. This multi-barrel, the Uni Jetstream multi-barrel, surprisingly, this is actually 1 gram heavier than this Jinhao 20. All right, so to answer the big question, are these Jinhaos just as good as these Pilot Vanishing Points or capless pens? Now, in my humble, unprofessional fountain pen opinion, yes, absolutely. I do think so. If I were, I mean, not were, I am. If I'm an average Joe Schmo and someone put these on a table and asked me which one writes the best, I really could not tell the difference, especially because, they all look the same. But a little tip, you could always tell which one are the Pilot ones because the ribbing right here where they open up, it's the, what's it called? Like the ribbing? Yeah, it's elevated. Whereas the Jinhaos, they are flat. So the middle part where they open up, they're flat. So if you ever see these on, my Instagram or in my stories or just on my YouTube, you can tell which one is the Pilot and which one is Jinhao. That's really the only clear external sign, I would say, other than also the nib or the clip. The clip has this little groove, like it dips in right here, whereas the Jinhao, their clip is just straight. But other than that, it does not really affect my grip. It does not make it worse or better with this groove here on the Pilot versus straight on the Jinhao. Again, like I have a weird grip in general, so it does not affect me. And this part does not make a difference either when it's resting on my hand. The only key difference, again, just in my experience, is that psychologically, I know that I'm writing with an 18 karat gold nib. And I will say, yes, in this particular fountain pen, okay, in its defense, I can tell, this is the, what is this, the Pilot Galaxy? I can, and this is a fine nib, I can tell it has a slight bounce to it, because some of my pen friends, they would say that, well, when you use a real gold nib with these Pilot pens, it does have like this bounce. Now, is this bounce very, very like prominent? Not really. Not really. Again, if I was blindfolded, I really, and it had this exact same body shape, I really couldn't tell. I think it also factors in the ink that you use. If you use more of a drier ink, that could affect your writing experience. I typically, kind of stick to the same inks, Pilots or Diamines, and they write very, I don't say they're very wet, but they're very, they're very smooth writing experience for me. And did I already point this out with Chinese made fountain pens? They do run larger. So if you order an extra fine, like I did, it's going to write like a fine. If you get a fine, it's going to write like a medium. If you get a medium, it's going to write like a bold. Whereas the these Pilot fountain pens, if you get a fine, it's going to write like a fine. If you get, medium, it's going to be like a medium. If you get an extra fine, it's going to write like an extra fine, very, very extra fine, which I realized I do not like because it's too fine for my large handwriting. So to really give you a better perspective, especially, excuse the landscaping, especially if you are somewhat like a newbie and you're considering, purchasing one of these, and maybe you want to just jump ahead. You're like, well, maybe because it's cheap, it won't be as good. No, I don't think that's the case. These are great alternatives. They're budget friendly, and it actually gives you a feel of what this experience could be like. Maybe you get this and you hate this clip mechanism. Maybe you realize that the cartridge ink is not holding as much as you'd like, and you do need a larger piston filler pen like a TWSBI or maybe other pens, So I always recommend these Jinhaos, just like the fountain pen community was so kind to recommend these to me in my humble Pilot beginnings. And this was $5. Yeah, did I mention that? This was $5. You guys, this does not look like a $5 fountain pen. To me, this does not. This looks like a fancy schmancy pen. Like, this looks like a $50 pen. Now, because it's lighter, it maybe knocks it down to like $30. But these are sleek designs, and everyone that I've shown these fountain pens to that are not in, the stationary world, they think I'm using some fancy schmancy pen when these were only $20. Now, these $5 you can get on AliExpress, but I just went through Amazon because, after shipping, it really, and tax, it comes out to be the same. The packaging was nothing special. I think if you order directly from Amazon or from AliExpress, it comes in a steel box, but this came in the sleeve and some bubble wrap. But to give you a comparison, again, I'm not a professional fountain pen reviewer. You could ask the professionals, but I've even had people that have many more years on me that have told me through messages that they actually enjoy the Jinhao 10s as well, and they cannot feel the difference. And if anything, they use these more, especially when they're out and about and traveling, because it's very budget friendly. You think I'm going to cry over this $5 fountain pen if the nib accidentally falls and breaks, or if I forget this at the hotel and it gets lost? No, I'm not. But I definitely am going to cry if this is going to be left behind, or even the capless. I love this thing. The best way I would compare these, if you get like a Louis Vuitton handbag, I'm just using that brand because I think everyone's familiar with Louis Vuitton and the price point. If you get like a Louis Vuitton handbag versus Coach or Coach outlet, is one better than the other? That's very subjective. Some people might think the craftsmanship in the French branded Louis Vuitton is so much better. But me, in my humble experience and opinion, I think the Coach leather handbags and the outlet version, you can still find good quality. Depends on the model, depends on the design concept, but yes, I am still going to look at the Coach outlet. I am willing to pay an $80 handbag versus a $2,000 handbag, right? They still are going to function the same. They're going to carry my everyday items, my everyday essentials. Do I need my Louis Vuitton to have real gold trim? Maybe if I want to feel fancy, but it's not necessary. Okay, fountain pens, I feel like these are already an indulgent hobby in this digital age. Everyone is using their phones, they're using apps, they're using their laptop, they're using tablets. So the fact that we in this fountain pen community are spending, $50, $80 on a writing tool when you can get, a $10 pen, or you can get, you guys know my favorite, where is she? 50 cents, okay? 50 cents. Let me tell you, if I told some of my friends how much my writing tools were, they would gasp. Like, what? I could get a real Apple Touch tablet, pencil that can do more. But, they're used to just these cheapy 50-cent pens. To them, this will suffice. But to us, there's more happiness and joy in the hobbies that we choose to partake in. So I would say the $5 Jinhao 20 or even the $20 Jinhao 10 is going to give you the same beautiful, smooth writing experience as these Pilot Vanishing points, okay? These even write just as good as, the Pilot nibs on the Kakunos and the Pilot Metropolitan and the Pilot Prera. These Pilot Preras, I did not realize these were more than what I paid for, because at the time, again, I got mine. Where's my ivory one? I didn't know they discontinued the ivory one, by the way. This ivory one, again, I got this on Amazon for like $20, and I did not realize they retail for like $65. So, again, that's just subjective. Like, do you think this is worth $65? To some, they won't bat an eye. That's nothing to them. To someone that's beginning in the fountain pen world, that's a lot of money, right? So they want something that's going to be a little bit more budget friendly, which the Kakunos are a good introduction because they actually share the same nib. They're the same nib. And then you get into, the gold nibs here with the Heritage, and then, yes, the Pilot. Oops. E92. Did you see that? I just dropped the nib right here. So you got to be careful. Okay? You have to be careful. Now, I will say, if you're looking for a good deal, because there's no shame in finding good deals. I typically will look through eBay. I will look through eBay to see if I have a holy grail or if I see a pen that I really, really like, but my budget just does not allow me to pay the full retail price. And if there is a design that you see too, it doesn't have to be Pilot, it could be just any other brand, check eBay. But Jinhao's, Asvine, and Hongdian's, those Chinese pens, they're a good introduction to what you could expect in terms of the mechanisms and the body feel and the way that they operate, I would say, and to give you a better sense in if you want to invest in something more. So I hope this helps. That was my long-winded answer. I really can't say that's going to be for your judgment, what you think is worth it. But I will say that this $5 fountain pen, you don't need these. Okay, you don't need to break the bank to experience what I'm experiencing with these pens. This will do.